Well, I hope you all enjoyed that brief snapshot of the Hill this year. Good evening and welcome to our final Alumni Town Hall of the academic year. My name is Colleen Garland and I'm Vice President for Advancement and will be serving as your moderator this evening. I will do our best to keep you updated about things that you care about at Kenyon after you leave, and it's always wonderful to have this opportunity to hear directly from you and to share the successes things that you may have missed. Joining me tonight, along with President Decatur, are our Provost, Jeff Bowman, and Associate Provost, Cheryl Hemkin. In addition to their work with the faculty and in their own classrooms and labs, Jeff and Cheryl will have new roles in the fall semester that we're looking forward to talking a little bit more about later in the hour. We say this every year, but it truly feels like time has flown by. Can we even remember what happened last August? We began the year with record enrollment and dozens of members of our first year class studying in Copenhagen, with the Kenyon Inn turned over for use as student residences. While I'll invite President Decatur to share more about this year's enrollment news, I can offer a bit of a teaser, and that is that we plan to open the Kenyon Inn again for visitors this summer. Of course, we're also looking forward to our first in-person reunion in 3 years, and it promises to be the biggest alumni gathering on the Hill probably ever. Of course, we're hoping to top the numbers and enthusiasm for Kenyon's bicentennial in 2024. And tonight we have David Lynn with us to share news on how you can be involved in commemorating that incredible milestone. We'll also announce some of our alumni award winners this evening. I think I said this last time, and I can't recall because this makes my point. Zoom fatigue is real, and we truly appreciate you being here with us tonight via Zoom. As a reminder, you're all on mute to preserve the audio, but we do want to get to your questions. So at any time during the hour, please just use the submit questions in the chat feature. We often have more questions than we have time, but we'll get to as many of those as we can. So before we take a look back, let's take a look forward at the bicentennial. This is, of course, a very big deal, and David is here to share just one of the many ways we are marking this historical occasion. So David, can I turn it over to you to talk a little bit about what you're working on and how our alumni can get involved?
Absolutely. Thank you, Colleen, and good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I'm honored to have been tasked by Decatur with the happy job of putting together a major volume to mark Kenyon's bicentennial in 2024. Its working title is Kenyon at 200, Place and Purpose. And the reason we're calling it that is we want it to be more than just a celebration of the campus and architectural history. We want it to be about the full experience of being at Kenyon for students, alumni, faculty, staff members, and local people. This is to reach out and include all of them in meaningful ways. Some of you will already have seen emails and announcements and Twitter feeds and all kinds of things about this just in the last day or so. But we really look to the larger community to be part of this project. And what I'm asking you to do is sometime in the next few weeks, if you could email me a short story, something about Kenyon, the place, specific places or happy memories or insights you may have in under 250 words. You'll see in the various announcements that there are links on the website to do this, but you could also just send it to lynd@kenyon.edu. And I've already begun to receive several messages, and they're lots of fun. I'd like to include your memories. This is your Kenyon. The book is about your Kenyon. And what we're not going to publish all of them in the book itself. We'll publish some of them. We'll also publish others online. We'll use them in a variety of ways. But for this book to be as successful as I think it can be, we want you to participate. So please send a thought to lynd@kenyon.edu Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of the town hall.
Thank you, David. I'm so glad you could join us this evening, and I'm glad this project is in your very capable hands. Most of our audience members know of your editing skills with the Kenyon Review, so we appreciate learning a bit more about this really wonderful way to commemorate and be a part of Kenyon's history. David may hop off or may stick around, but we'll post in the chat additional ways to get in touch with David. So let's bring things back to the president. I'd like to start us off by asking Jeff, Cheryl, and Sean to each share one or two good news stories from the year. We've been able to get away from virtual teaching, and it's been a really wonderful year at Kenyon in so many ways. So Sean, let's start with you.
Thank you, Colleen, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in this online conversation tonight. We really appreciate your engagement and connection to Kenyon. And we are heading into the last day of finals tomorrow, which I know is exciting to many students on campus that the semester and final exams are coming to an end. I have to say, on a personal note, the last day of finals brings a little bit of trepidation because I've been teaching this semester, and it means that I have 13 seminar papers that need to be graded somewhere between tomorrow morning and Monday morning when senior grades are due. But I'm sure that it will be a fun weekend activity for me to get that done. We are really at the end of what has been a thrilling and somewhat exhausting year. As Colleen mentioned, we began the year with the return to a full campus of in-person learning, and it was exciting to welcome all classes back to campus for the first time since the COVID crisis began. And we also began the year welcoming everyone back to campus with a new Chalmers library, which has been a transformational feature to campus and has proven to be very busy and popular with students on campus. And of course, we are ending the year in pretty thrilling fashion as well. Next weekend, we will have not one, but two commencements, a traditional commencement for the class of 2022 on Saturday, and then following that up with a second commencement for the class of 2020, the class that missed the opportunity to bring their Kenyon career to closure on campus with the ceremony. And so we are thrilled not only to have that ceremony, but that over 300 members of the class of 2020 have registered to return to campus to participate in that, which I think is really exciting. And of course, we will have complement double commencements with basically triple reunions the following week, beginning on May 27th. And I hope to see many of you in person on that weekend, but that also promises to be an exciting time. This year was also a year where I'd say the excellence and accomplishments of our students were on display on many fronts, and it was great to be able to see that. I guess I'd like to lead off with athletic news because the spring seasons in particular have been very exciting here on campus. And in fact, the spring seasons have yet to end for many of our athletes because of postseason play. So the men's golf team won their first conference championship and is in fact competing as we speak in the NCAA Division III championships in Florida. The women's lacrosse team won a conference championship in pretty dramatic and decisive fashion over Denison in a home championship game. And they will be hosting in the first round of the NCAA Division III championships in women's lacrosse here on campus this weekend, which is exciting. And then in general, the spring seasons had lots of thrills along the way. Men's lacrosse and the men's tennis team were runners-up in the conference championships. The baseball team had a 14-game winning streak, which was the longest winning streak of a Division III baseball team in the country. And the softball team set a new high for number of wins in a season at 24. And so this was just a really exciting season for athletics all around. And of course, that came immediately on the heels of the women's swimming team winning, the swimming and diving team winning the Division III national championship this year. So it was just an exciting year on the athletic field. Academically, our students continue to do very well in competition for Fulbright fellowships, which of course are national awards to support graduates to do study abroad after they leave Kenyon. We had 8 students who have won Fulbright so far, 4 students who are alternates for Fulbright fellowships as we move into the summer. We've also continued our good record of Goldwater fellowships. We had a student, Ella Wilson, who's a junior math major. Goldwater fellowships are the highest national award to recognize outstanding work in science, engineering, and mathematics. And we're really proud of the work that Ella has done here, the attention that it's getting on that level. We've also had some just great entrepreneurial spirit among our students this year. So a group of students have developed a business proposal to have a student-operated bar on campus that they have named The Flats. And it will start in coming up in the fall as a kind of pop-up bar at different locations across campus. They really did just, I think, a strong job in not only developing a business plan, doing legwork for figuring out the details of alcohol licenses on campus, and are excited to move this forward as the fall semester begins. And then finally, just wanted to say that our efforts at encouraging students to have internship opportunities and to continue integrating career development into the campus continues. Some of this has been really greatly accelerated this year by the location of the career development office within the New Chalmers Library, which has done a great deal to improve foot traffic through there. And we've combined that with an increase in programming for career development, which is really beginning to show dividends in terms of opportunities that our students and our graduates have. And there's a great story up online about one of our students, Jane Gelman, who began both work in internships on campus with the Philander Chase Conservancy and Kokosi Nature Preserve, and also work that she did in the solar energy class on campus, which every year does a project where they not only learn about solar energy, but they design a solar energy installation on a facility on campus. And she took with those experiences of internships and mentoring that she had through the broader Kenyon Alumni Network, will be moving on into a job and a trajectory into work in solar energy after graduation. And so, just one of the examples of ways in which the connections and the possibilities that are made possible by opportunities here on campus are able to translate into jobs after graduation, which we're really excited about. So it's been an exciting year, and we've got some exciting big things coming up in the next couple of weekends. So it's the 21-22 academic year will certainly be one to remember.
Thank you, Sean. It's hard to condense a full semester into just a few minutes, but I appreciate those highlights. Jeff, what about you? What stands out?
Well, what stands out for me, I'd say a few words about the faculty. As Sean says, we're in the kind of final hours of this academic year, and the semester ends tomorrow at 4:30, and it's been a good year for faculty getting back in class, in person with students. And I'd like to talk a little bit about scholarly and artistic engagement. I always try to report a little bit about this to the faculty each year, and also to the trustees. And COVID was really, the pandemic was really challenging for a lot of scholars and artists for all kinds of different reasons. Libraries and archives were closed for the better part of 2 years. Lots of performing arts were all but impossible, and even lab sciences were kind of hindered by the fact that you had to do all kinds of social distancing. So there's all kinds of things that have really been a real challenge to our faculty in terms of scholarly and artistic production over the past couple of years. And the good news here sort of is that when I've looked at what faculty have been up to, they actually, even despite these real palpable and enduring challenges, they've been remarkably resilient. So I don't want to play down the challenges, but when I look at what the faculty have done over the past couple of years in terms of publications and performances and books and journal articles, I mean, the harvest has really been very impressive. And so one of the things that I kind of celebrate is, although the faculty is certainly tired after a couple of years of this, and after this long year, they've really continued to produce a lot of excellent work in a lot of very highly regarded journals. And then they've also gotten all sorts of recognition from outside and beyond, just within our walls. I mean, there's a bunch of faculty that have won fellowships from the ACLS, the Institute for Advanced Study, the National Science Foundation, the Ohio Arts Council. All kinds of faculty members have been really successful at grant seeking. I mean, Sean mentioned some of the Fulbrights for students. We have 2 faculty members who have research Fulbrights next year. Dave Rowe in political science will be going to Brussels, and he will be stepping down as director of the Center for Study of American Democracy, and Joe Klessner will be stepping into his shoes, and Noah Iden will have, in mathematics, will have a Fulbright in Algeria. And so the faculty have been doing a lot of really excellent work, and have also been really recognized for that work. And a lot of it has come within these narrow scholarly confines, but there's also been recognition beyond that. Zoe Contis, a faculty member in classics, has a podcast about looted antiquities that 20,000 people listen to regularly. John Sherman's recent film in the film department has won recognition at a couple of different film festivals. And Bruce Hardy in anthropology, our kind of resident expert on Neanderthals, appeared on National Public Radio a couple of times this year. So that's one of the things that I'm most excited and proud about, is that the faculty have, despite the real challenges of kind of retooling their entire teaching programs for the pandemic and all of the things that have gotten in the way of getting to archives or performing or singing or everything else, have really continued to be productive and engaged. The one other thing I'd mentioned is that, you know, we continue to kind of build the faculty for the future. And in the current year, we made tenure track hires in economics, the Wright Family Chair in economics and film, in neuroscience and biology and sculpture and creative writing, and in Spanish. And we kind of continue to move forward with the sort of curricular and academic elements of things that we identified in the strategic plan as being priorities. And these include building a computing program and thinking more deeply about global education for all of our students, and about centering environmental literacy as a kind of key component of liberal education. So those are some of the things that are kind of exciting from the academic side of the house.
Thank you, Jeff. It's really nice to be reminded of the intense commitment that our faculty have to their discipline, and as well as to their students. So Cheryl, I think this is your first time with us for an alumni town hall. We'd love to hear from you as well. What stands out for you?
Thanks, Colleen, and good evening to everyone. Like Colleen said, I think this is the first time I've had a chance to speak with everyone, and so I'd just like to introduce myself. I've been serving as an associate provost since 2019, but I've been a professor of chemistry here since I arrived in about 2003, and so I see a few names in the alumni that I recognize. Anyway, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to say, not only are there the good works that you've heard from Jeff and Sean, but I'd like to add a couple more to that. Over this last week, as people are getting through their finals, I've had a chance to talk to a number of faculty and students, and like a couple people have already said, yeah, everyone is tired, but boy, they're really super excited to get going on their summer scholarly and artistic projects. A number of faculty are getting ready to visit their favorite archives and research locations, and we're going to have over 90 students on campus participating in faculty mentored projects this summer. So it'll be really great to see the campus get back more of its vibrant summer self. But with that, I thought I'd take a moment and recognize some of the humanity that underlies our campus, particularly when it's in person and we can really engage with one another. And one of the most recent stories I heard, it was one of the most heartwarming things I've heard in a long time. One of our international students was having some difficulty with this driving test. They didn't have a car, so they couldn't practice. So one of our administrative assistants heard about this, volunteered to give the student some lessons, allowed the student to drive around in her car, and drove him up to Mansfield for a driver's test. So after some anxious waiting, I heard the practice paid off and the test was passed. So to me, this is kind of symbolic of some of those unsung moments that make our campus when we're in person just so really wonderful. And then as a closing piece, I thought I'd give a shout out to my home Department of Chemistry, where we hold an annual t-shirt design contest. It's a contest where all the faculty, staff, and students of chemistry and biochemistry, they can take part, submit designs. We all vote on our favorite design, and the winning design is memorialized on a t-shirt that goes to the chem and biochem majors. And I should say, this is actually sponsored by an alum that funded some kind of a little pot of money for some fun that we can have here in chemistry, so the Lynn Fund. So after these last years of separation, our winning design actually incorporates, I think, some of the best parts of being a residential college. It's got, of course, the requisite poor chemistry humor, but I thought I'd bring it up here. I don't know that you can kind of see it, but it's alling this together, all kinds of fun. And so we've got little chemistry stick figures and a back of some of the chemistry buildings. And so I think that was a really nice way to close out the semester, close out the year, and really enjoy being together. So I'll throw it back to you, Colleen.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thanks to all three of you for that extra dose of some Kenyan joy. I'll expand on the good vibes just a little bit by thanking those in our audience who participated in our recent 43022 Day. It was a giving challenge that raised almost $1 million from more than 1,400 donors. But it included events in 14 cities around the country, including a lot of fun with the parade here in Gambier and a proclamation in front of the post office by our mayor. I am delighted to announce the winner of the free reunion for life that was drawn that night. Our winner is Eva Warren, class of 2019, who entered the drawing when she attended the 43022 Day event in Columbus. So congratulations, Eva. We look forward to having you back for every single reunion on our dime. So as a reminder, please note that you can submit questions anytime in the chat, and we'll get to them in just a little bit. But I'd like to return to the news that Jeff shared of David Rowe's Fulbright, which fits into a larger narrative about Kenyan people working actively to defend democracy around the world. Sean, we have several key, really prominent alumni engaging in this work currently, including one who was just on campus. So can I turn it to you to tell us a bit more about that?
Sure, thank you, Colleen. And I think we all know this has been this past year, and really actually the past few months have been stark reminders of the fragility of democracy globally, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine has really brought images to our televisions and phones and other devices on not only what the risks to democracy are, but the price that many people are willing to pay in order to support and advance democracy globally. And we've had over the course of the past couple of months, though, also some reminders of the ways in which Kenyan alums are actively engaged in this really critical work on the global stage. And maybe starting with Ukraine as an example, I'm sure folks have seen the news about Bridget Brink, class of '91, who was nominated to be the next ambassador to Ukraine, which is a critical position at this point in time. And we know that Ambassador Brink will make all of us proud with her work in that role. Last week, we hosted an event on campus honoring and actually also involving another alum, Leopoldo Lopez, class of '93. I know many of you know of Leo's work as a leader in Venezuela, advancing the cause for democracy there. He's been an critical voice for the resistance to the Maduro regime in Venezuela. He himself was imprisoned for his political activities and spent significant time in prison, much of it in solitary confinement, and also under house arrest until he managed to leave Venezuela and to exile, where he's been for the past couple of years. Several of Leo's classmates created a prize for Kenyan to bestow upon, in Leo's honor, to bestow upon individuals who are making similar sacrifices in the cause of democracy, and to do this as a way to honor and make sure that folks remember the sacrifices that Leo's made over his lifetime for the sake of democracy. And so this year, we were able to, for the first time, actually bestow this award in person, since this was something that was created during the COVID period. And we honored the political opposition and the jailed political prisoners and dissidents in Nicaragua, many of whom, or it includes the 7 presidential candidates who were imprisoned during last year's presidential campaign and who remain imprisoned in Nicaragua. The award was accepted by Carlos, on their behalf by Carlos Chamorro, who is a leading investigative journalist in Nicaragua, and who's also the brother of one of the imprisoned presidential candidates, and now lives in exile in Costa Rica. We were also joined by Berta Valle, who's the wife of one of the imprisoned candidates. And of course, Leo and his family were able to be here as well. I'd say it was one of the incredibly moving events. If you have a chance to watch the recording of the live stream, I encourage you to do so. And the folks on campus also had a chance to visit classes and interact with students. And the powerful moment of sharing personal stories, especially from Leo, who was able to make connections between his personal experiences in Gambier and his own personal journey on his work for democracy in Nicaragua, and how much of what he learned and took with him from Kenyan was able to sustain him through his time of imprisonment, was just incredibly powerful. And so I encourage folks to listen. And then, we also have been having conversations on campus that will continue around the importance of investigative journalism in the cause of democracy. Of course, we're very proud of another one of our alums, Jen Judson, class of '04, who is now president of the National Press Club, and so is in an important position to advance the national conversations around the importance of journalism. And in our commencement for the class of 2022, we will be honoring with an honorary degree, and also as commencement speaker, Sheila Coronel, who is a journalist, a former dean at the Columbia School of Journalism, and someone who's been a leader in supporting global investigative journalism against authoritarian regimes. She herself began her career with groundbreaking investigations in the Philippines, her native country, and created a global network to support investigative journalism on behalf of democracy. So it's really, I think, despite the uncertainty and the challenges of the larger global times, it's been both heartening to see Kenyon alums in leadership positions in these important struggles, and then also to have the opportunity to bring important conversation to campus about these issues, and to see our students and faculty engage in this discussion.
It's truly an impressive testament to the way that Kenyon and its alumni are living out their values in these cases. So, Sean, let's stay with you for a minute to hear a bit more about what sparks your passions. And to our audience tonight, I will say that in addition to joining us this evening to reflect on the year, Jeff and Cheryl are also with us because they will be taking on some temporary duties next semester. You may have read that Sean will be taking a sabbatical in the fall, a temporary step away from his administrative duties so that he can focus on research, restoration. As you may know, all tenured members of our faculty are eligible for a sabbatical after 7 years, and Sean is a member of our sabbatical and is in his 9th year, but his sabbatical was delayed by the pandemic. So Sean, I think most of our audience knows you're a biochemist, but perhaps you can tell us a bit more about what you are excited to spend your time on in the fall semester.
Thank you, and I am very excited about the upcoming 6 months that I'll have to focus on some projects that are a bit different than my day-to-day work at Kenyon. One of which is kind of really front and center in my passions as a biophysical chemist, and also someone I've been very interested in recent years in understanding the ways in which students learn and process information in the natural sciences. And so I'm going to be working on some writing and a project involving a text for studying and teaching protein chemistry, but aimed at a broad audience of undergraduate students. And so, protein chemistry, as some of you may have heard me talk endlessly about in the past, is just something that is near and dear to my heart. And I was able to teach a seminar on protein structure function dynamics this semester, and looking forward to thinking about how to bring some of these topics to a broader audience over the course of the next few months. And in addition, there's a second project that I've been working on for some time, and I'm looking forward to maybe pushing over the finish line in the next few months. And that is pulling together writings I've done over the years and my own personal reflections on life as an educator and leader in education, and what my pathway has been like on that perspective, and what thoughts I have about the state of liberal arts education in 2022. And so that's a second project that I hope to really advance forward quite far over the course of the next few months. And that said, there are also some things that I am looking forward to doing. I have a very tall stack of books, including novels. I feel the past few months I have really lost track of reading fiction, and looking forward to catching up on some things. In particular, at the top of my stack is the 2 novels, one The Vanishing Half and the other The Love Poems of W.E.B. Du Bois, both of which are things I've heard great things about, and looking forward to diving in more. And on a sillier side, I have to admit, I have a secret kind of guilty pleasure of the TV series Killing Eve, and I have totally missed all of the last season. And so at some point, and maybe just for the first couple of days of the month of July, I think I will wipe Killing Eve off of my to-watch list at some point. But I'm very grateful for Kenyon's support in being able to recommit to my writing and scholarship during this time. And I'm actually, as of course excited to return to campus in January with some fresh ideas and some fresh thought and some new perspective on my work on campus.
Well, I, for one, am really excited for you, Sean, and I'm just so thankful that Kenyon is a place that values this whole notion of stepping away and providing some time to help reconnect to the passions that brought you into academia in the first place. Of course, we will be in the wonderful hands of Jeff and Cheryl. And so I'd like to ask you both to put on your new hats and tell us maybe a couple of things that you are looking forward to. So Jeff, I assume as acting president, you are not planning to redecorate Cromwell Cottage, but maybe you do have some fun plans.
Well, maybe Sean and I should have worked that out, because I was planning a gut ren, and I've been negotiating with design firms in Brazil and Italy so maybe we have to talk about that. No, there will be no significant changes to Cromwell Cottage. And I mean, earlier I talked a little bit about one of the things that's very exciting about being at Kenyon is seeing the lively intellectual, artistic lives of our faculty members. And so like, I think it's great that Sean's going to have the opportunity to pursue these projects like other faculty members would, because that's the way it should be. And it's one of the reasons that Kenyon's such a wonderful place to work and to be a faculty member. So for me personally, I mean, in the past couple of years, I've been in the role of provost, and before that, I was an associate provost, and I've been on the faculty for 25 years now or close to it. And in each of those roles, one of the things that has been really exciting and pleasant for me is getting to know more and more people across the institution and in different roles. And I know that over the past couple of years that I've been in the role of provost, one of the things that I've just have deeply appreciated is the kind of commitment of the faculty and staff across the institution, and getting to know them better and the kinds of work they do. And so it leaves me kind of going into this role feeling profoundly grateful for the work that Kenyon's faculty and staff members do, and eager to get to know more about what they do, and eager to have more contact with alumni in more different kinds of ways. So that feels like an exciting opportunity for me, in addition to, as the chief academic officer, having the opportunity to make sure that our president and chemist in chief has the opportunity to get the work done that he should be able to get done this sabbatical. So I'm looking forward to that, and to having lots of encounters with alumni in that period when I'm acting president. So.
Terrific. Thank you, Jeff. So as Jeff moves into the acting president role, Cheryl, of course, you will move into the acting provost role. What are you looking forward to?
Geez, I will just say that I'm really delighted to have this new opportunity to serve Kenyon. Jeff and Sean have been amazing role models and have really brought the college through these last years, and as Sean was saying, many more years beside that, in really good direction. I also, like Jeff, have found it to be a really rewarding experience as associate provost to start to learn more about our faculty, staff, and students in a much larger perspective than what I had previously. And I have to say, over these past few years that have been pretty difficult, this time has really illuminated to me just how committed our faculty, staff, and students are to one another and to the college. I feel truly lucky and honored to be able to work and teach in this environment. And I really look forward to working with this amazing community and the alumni to build an even stronger Kenyon as we go forward. So I'm very honored for this. So thank you, Kim. Thank you, Colleen.
You bet. Well, we are excited to work more closely with both of you over the next semester. I'm happy to say I do see your questions coming in via chat. So we will have one more thing to do before we start getting to the questions. And that is to recognize just a few of our alumni awards. I will do the honors. We'll also be presenting many more of these awards every union weekend in just a few short weeks. But first, let me start with the Green Slate Award, which, as you may know, is given in memory of longtime Kenyan archivist Thomas Boardman Greenslade, class of 1931, by the Alumni Council to the person who demonstrates the qualities of affection for and loyalty to Kenyan exhibited by the Greenslades in their many years of volunteer service to the college. This year's winner is Martha Johnson, class of 1984. She was nominated by Deb Cooperman, class of 83, who said Martha has been the unofficial troop leader for the K-80s online community since its inception almost 10 years ago. And through all that she does for that community and the way she lives her life, she epitomizes the spirit of this award. Congratulations, Martha. Next is the Kenyan to Career Ambassador Award, given in honor of the individual who has significantly contributed to the professional development, career exploration, and postgraduate success of Kenyan students and alumni. This year's winner is Mara Elperin, class of 07, who has hosted 14 students for professional extension projects in children's book publishing, coordinating times to connect with these students from her home in London. Congratulations, Mara. And finally, the Distinguished Service Award is presented to the volunteer who has made the biggest impact each year. This year's winner is Stephen McCoy, class of 1987, who has served in a variety of volunteer roles since 1991, including as class agent. Congratulations to Stephen and all of our award winners, and we thank you for all you do for Kenyan. You represent us well. Now, we'd like to get to your questions. The first question is from Susie Apel, class of 83, who says, I would appreciate it if President Decatur could address the status of the student union organizing drive. Case Walk have listened to students consistently, petitioned in the fall. Sorry, and that I think that's the summary of her question. So Sean, could I ask you to address that question from Susie?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I'll maybe just give a brief background and then update on where things stand now. It's now a bit over a year and a half ago. So in the beginning of fall semester 2020, a group of students approached me and the members of the Board of Trustees requesting voluntary recognition of a wall-to-wall union on campus of student workers that would involve every hourly student worker on campus. In response to that, the Board of Trustees held a process that stretched from the fall through the end of December of 2020 that involved listening to the concerns of the students who brought the petition, listening to concerns of other student workers on campus, and reached the conclusion that the nature of student work at Kenyan is intrinsically tied to both the academic enterprise on campus, and would not be something in the view of the board and a view that I share that would change the relationship between students in the college and felt that voluntary recognition was not appropriate. This past fall, a group of students petitioned to the National Labor Relations Board to hold an election on campus for the same union with the same structure. The college filed a request to stay pending a review of that petition with two important legal questions that we feel need to be resolved. One of which is on some technical details around how elections work and the way that the typical way that NLRB election works, being incompatible with federal privacy laws that we are bound to from an educational standpoint, and requesting that those get resolved before any election move forward. And the second was requesting a review about the status of undergraduate students being eligible to organize such a union, which is not something that the NLRB has officially reviewed and recognized in the past. That there was a response from the NLRB after about 6 months. And so we just heard a first response a little over 2 weeks ago. Their current conversations about resolving these technical issues, and we hope to learn more in the coming weeks. I'll say that over the course of the past year and a half, in addition to the formal meetings with the board committee and students, I certainly have heard and had meetings and conversations with students who are part of the student organizing efforts, and I've had conversations with students who are not part of the student organizing effort about this as a topic, much in the same way that I engage and have conversations with students on a range of issues. And so this is one where I think that it's important for us to make sure that the critical legal questions are truly resolved, and we are kind of following a process that will allow us to find the right resolution to this.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you taking the time to address that question. Our next one comes from two gentlemen, Bill Scarr, class of 67, and John Higgins, class of 73, asking about the moniker process. So for those who maybe have not followed it as closely, Sean, could you share some insight into the process and why ultimately you were supportive of a change following input from alumni and students?
Sure. And so a little over a year ago, I was also approached by a group of students who brought forward some questions and concerns about the monikers Lords and Ladies. I suggested to those students that if this was an issue that they felt had substance to it, that they should do a couple of things. One is carry out some research and homework to support their case and argument, and the other is work through the campus processes by which we bring these issues to broader discussion on campus. And so the Campus Senate, which is made up of leaders of students and faculty and staff, took up this issue from students. They spent almost a year doing both research into the history of the monikers, taking surveys and getting information from current students and folks on campus about this, and having conversations with Alumni Council and KFBC as well as also having conversations with the Board of Trustees. Coming out of that, the Senate issued a recommendation to me that we pursue a change, and we also then solicited broader input about the possibilities of change from the full community. From that process, over of the folks who responded, and there were say somewhere on the scale of, I believe, 2,500 to 3,000 responses from alumni and students and other members of the Kenyon community. Across the board, it was about 2/3 of those expressed a desire to see a change in the moniker, and so given that, given the work that was done by the students, and I think a sense of many who felt that a change was called for, we moved forward with an election and a vote for a new moniker. I'd say for me, one of the things that there were a couple things that swayed me here. One is the argument that for some, especially for some of our student athletes who felt that the monikers didn't capture their or did not include them into the sense of what it meant to be part of not only the Kenyan community, but specifically the community of student athletes. And the second is that this was a very kind of deliberative process of consideration that was brought forward. And so those things actually led me to support the idea that we should move forward to a change. And I think as people have seen in the announcement, the final votes for this came out as the Owls. And so I think that as a nod to Kenyan sense of place and connection, in particular, the connection to the Kokosing, which translates into Creek of Little Owls, that this is I think a nice way that loops a new moniker to something that speaks to Kenyans' connections and deep connections to our location here on this hill in Gambia.
Thank you, Sean. And for those who haven't seen it, maybe we can put a link in the chat to the short video announcement where you can get a sense of how the Owls was shared. We have time for probably one more question. It comes from Jen Fishman, class of '94, who says, I'd love to hear about what's new in writing at Kenyon, especially writing classes and co-curricular opportunities for students writing across the curriculum, the campus and the community. So Jeff, maybe you want to take this one. I know we also have the science and nature writing piece that Sean, you may want to weigh in on, but Jeff, why don't we start with you?
I'm happy to do it, but I'm also, David was here too a second ago, and I don't know if he still is, and maybe he's not. So I will just mention a couple of things, and then Cheryl or Sean, you can also jump in. With regard to writing, I mean, we've continued to grow the creative writing faculty in the English department. One of the other exciting initiatives that is sponsored, at least in part, by a Mellon grant, a grant from the Mellon Foundation over the past couple of years, is a science and nature writing initiative that has brought together faculty across a bunch of different departments, including English, but also biology and chemistry and physics and environmental studies and anthropology, I think. So faculty in a bunch of different disciplines and departments who are kind of thinking about what it means to kind of write for a non-academic audience and what it means to kind of take writing very seriously in the context of communicating scientific information. So that's one thing that I think we're very excited about. It kind of builds on our long-standing traditions and strengths in both English and in the kind of writing work that the KR has done and supported for young writers, and with writing programming there, and takes it and pushes it in a new direction that embraces a bunch of different kinds of disciplinary mastery. And the one other thing that I would mention about this is that we are in the process of hiring a new director for the Writing Center. Jean Griggs, who has been the Writing Center director of the Writing Center for 30 years, I think, is retiring this year. And so we are both in the process of kind of celebrating Jean's accomplishment and in bringing someone new into that role. And Jean helped kind of orchestrate a kind of self-study and an external review that has really helped us think about the way in which that Writing Center can play a really galvanizing and pivotal role in terms of supporting student writing across the campus. So so those are a couple of exciting things, and that I know, Jen, you are a person who asked that question from deep and profound knowledge about what has gone on here with writing in the past. And so I hope you'll appreciate those things. And I don't know, Sean, Cheryl, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Maybe something I add on the science and nature writing that particularly, that I find is particularly exciting, beyond the fact that I just like science writing and reading cool science. It's really something that has taken hold of several different, I'd say, audiences and work groups on campus that's converging in an interesting way. So a few years ago, the Kenyon Review added science and nature writing, a science and nature writing track to the Young Writers Program, which has generated interest among high schoolers and high schoolers interested in Kenyon in science and nature writing. We have, on the other end, some of our faculty have been doing workshops for graduate students and postdocs and junior faculty at medical schools around effective scientific communicating in that context. And every summer we have a workshop that brings in researchers from medical institutions from Ohio to come to campus to hone and sharpen their writing skills. We have a student publication. One of the student literary magazines, the Lyceum on campus, is dedicated to science writing. And so this is a student organization of folks who found this as a passion, and it actually publishes some really interesting work once a semester that the students do. And then there's been a faculty, I should say we also have a program of a summer student opportunity for students who are interested in working with a faculty member on writing about science to a broad public audience and kind of doing a summer-long internship experience in that program. And so, one of the things that just excites me about science and nature writing is that it's a thing that fits in naturally to Kenyon, and that we are approaching it on every scale, from student independent work that's happening on campus to internship fellowship work that students are doing, to work with high school students, to work with graduate students and medical researchers. And it's really exciting to see that broad reach of activity happening kind of springing from Kenyon.
Well, thank you, Sean and Jeff. Our hour has come to a close, so I would like to thank every one of you for taking an hour away from your evenings to reconnect with Kenyon and learn a little bit about what is going on. My most sincere thanks to our president, Sean Decatur, to Jeff Bowman, to Cheryl Hemkin, and to David Lynn, who was with us earlier. I appreciate the great information that you shared with our guests. Hope to see many of you on campus in just a few short weeks for our mega reunion weekend. Have a good evening, everyone.